Wendy Osefo shares what Eddie Osefo does for a living today. The Osefos are booked and busy. Dr. Wendy Osefo and her husband, Eddie Osefo, are a power couple who manage to find success in whatever career opportunities they pursue, all while being best friends and life partners. And that definitely means supporting each other's endeavors. In fact, Wendy proudly shared with Briefing on Bravo recently the latest on her husband's career. According to his Instagram bio, Eddie is keeping busy with the multiple jobs he has, including as an attorney and serial entrepreneur. Eddie's focus in the entrepreneurial space has led him in new directions as he looks to grow his Happy Eddie brand, according to Wendy. Happy Eddie is doing amazing, the Real Housewives of Potomac wife told Briefing on Bravo in an exclusive interview in January. It's now moving into a new state. So that's exciting. It's expanding. What does Wendy Osefo do for a living? As for Wendy, she's also as busy as ever as she navigates a new direction in her career in academia, while also taking a breather to focus on herself. For me, I left my professor position at my other university. I actually just taught this semester at Wesleyan University, where I got to teach the sociology of reality TV. So that was fun. I did that in the fall semester, and in the spring semester, I'm just going to finally take a break. I've been teaching for a long time, and this spring semester, I'll take a break, she shared. And then in the fall, I'll revisit if I go back to Wesleyan or if I go somewhere else. But it was fun. Previously, Wendy also authored the book, Tears of My Mother, and hosted the Dr. Wendy Show, a weekly YouTube series that discusses politics, pop culture, and lifestyle. Dr. Wendy Osefo shares the secret to her marriage with Eddie Osefo. When they aren't working, the couple is busy parents who have managed to find the perfect way to keep their marriage strong. I would definitely say communication is number one, and I would also say being friends. At the core of our marriage, we are best friends, she said. It's one of those things that even when we hit a rough patch, I'm like, I have no one to watch TV with 'cause I don't like him right now. And I think that's just a testament to our friendship. So communication and a deep love and respect for each other as friends is needed. Wendy Osefo shares what Eddie Osefo does for a living today. Wendy Osefo sat back in the plush armchair, her legs tucked underneath her as the sun streamed in through the floor-to-ceiling windows of her Potomac home. The clock on the wall ticked steadily, but Wendy's mind was somewhere else, caught in the currents of the past few months. She had been asked, more than once, about Eddie, her husband, and what exactly it was that he did for a living these days. She chuckled to herself. It seemed like a simple question, but it had layers of meaning that went deeper than most people could understand. Eddie? What does Eddie do? She mused aloud, her eyes tracing the lines of the ceiling, as if the answer might be written in the patterns. Then she exhaled deeply, the story spilling out, much like it had in their living room during late-night conversations after the kids were asleep. The journey begins. Wendy had met Eddie during their college days at Johns Hopkins University. She had been studying political science and public health, a combination that reflected her passion for social change and justice. Eddie, on the other hand, was a man of many interests, always driven, always ambitious, with a deep fascination for the financial world and the mechanisms that drove business and economics. Their early days as a couple were defined by ambition. Wendy, always the intellectual, was focused on her academic pursuits, while Eddie was spending his time getting his foot in the door of finance. He didn't just want a career, he wanted a legacy. It wasn't enough to just be another guy in a suit. He had a vision of creating something meaningful, something that would allow him to impact others on a larger scale. For years, Eddie worked tirelessly in corporate America. His career was a whirlwind of meetings, spreadsheets, and constant networking. He climbed the ranks quickly, proving himself in the business world as a competent and dedicated professional. But while his career was on the rise, something began to feel off. Wendy, I'm not happy, Eddie had confessed one evening as they sat together on their balcony, the distant hum of the city in the background. I'm doing well, but I don't feel like I'm doing what I'm meant to do. Wendy, ever the supportive partner, had listened carefully. She knew Eddie wasn't the type to speak lightly, and his words reflected a deeper unease. Maybe it's time to think bigger, Eddie, she had suggested thoughtfully. You've got the drive, the intelligence. What if you could create something of your own? You've always talked about making an impact beyond just money. Maybe it's time to take that leap. The conversation changed the trajectory of Eddie's career. The leap into entrepreneurship. Eddie had always believed in the power of entrepreneurship, but taking that first step felt daunting. Still, he couldn't ignore the feeling that he was meant for something more than the corporate grind, and so he made the leap. But it wasn't just about launching any business. Eddie had an idea that had been brewing in the back of his mind for years. He wanted to create a company that would empower underrepresented individuals to enter the financial world. He envisioned a platform that could provide education, resources, and mentorship to help others build wealth, particularly for communities that had long been left out of the conversation. It was a bold vision, but Eddie's heart was set on it. With Wendy's support and his unwavering belief in the idea, he launched his company, Eden Finance, a fintech startup aimed at financial literacy and inclusion. Eddie, this is exactly what you were meant to do, Wendy had said, smiling as she stood beside him during the launch. There was something powerful in the way Eddie spoke about his mission. It wasn't just business, it was personal. The early days were rough. There were countless sleepless nights, long hours of phone calls with investors, and more than a few setbacks. But Eddie thrived under the pressure. He was relentless, never losing sight of his mission, and gradually things started to turn around. Eden Finance began attracting attention. Investors saw the potential in Eddie's vision, and soon the company was growing. What had once been a small idea had turned into something much larger. The platform gained traction, providing educational tools, resources, and an online community where people could learn about investments, budgeting, and financial planning. Eddie's passion for financial inclusion resonated with people everywhere, particularly those who had never been taught how to manage money or build wealth. As the company flourished, Wendy continued to watch Eddie's transformation from the sidelines, proud of his growth as both an entrepreneur and a leader. It was no longer just about the money, it was about making a tangible difference in the world.